Hi, welcome to the demo about joins. So joins, due to the time-based character of streaming processing, are also one of the implementations for a stateful processing. So in the theory lesson I explained visually why this operation that in batch processing is quite simple. In stream processing it's a little bit much more challenging, and why it involves state. So to illustrate that, I will show you two types of joins. The first one is the left outer join, where we'll emit the results even though we don't have much on both sides, and the second one is the inner join that will emit results only when we have match on both sides. And as an illustration, I will take a quite popular example in stream processing for that, which is the add impressions. So I have two streams, one stream, so let me just show you the config, one stream for the visits and another stream for the add impressions. And typically the reading part is quite easy. We just transform the JSON into some structure. In both cases we define the watermark where there's nothing complex. The beginning of the join is also easy. We join by visit ID and by page, but later things start to become much more complex because we join these events, adds and visits with this visit ID and page conditions only when the add impression is between the event time of the visit and event time of the visit plus 10 minutes. What does it mean? It's a kind of translation of a business rule into the code, because we say here that we accept an add or we expect an add impression to be showed to the user 10 minutes at most after he visits the page. So if there is something that comes later, well, we will simply ignore it. And let me start the Docker Compose first, and later I will start the topic. So there is no data generator, because here I would like to show different generation scenarios for the state expiration and for the results emission. So I'm starting to creating these two topics by hand, and I will also use the Kafka console producer. Okay, and I will start now the job and also send the first data. So let me start the job. Okay, we don't have any match as expected. And now I will add the first visit. Logically, we don't have much either, so we can move on. And at this time, you can see that we have the watermark of 858. Now I will add an add impression that fits in this time range. And here you can see that we correctly emitted the match. Okay, so the next step is to emit a new visit, but this time so that's not a new visit, that's a visit, the same visit but on a different page. And the watermark for visits is 9 and for adds 859. And logically we don't have any match because the page is different. Now I will add another visit just to advance the watermark, and now what I would expect is to see the visit for the page 2 emitted without the join, but it doesn't happen. Why? Well, maybe this 908 is not enough, so maybe let's try to emit let's try to emit an add. Maybe this only impacts the visit, so maybe just try to emit some add impression, but as you can see nothing happens either. So it's normal. The lack of results is nothing unexpected, because here we don't use the watermark as it. Instead, we mix the watermark value with this range condition. So for our page 2, for this one, we expect the data up to 912. So as long as the watermark doesn't advance to 912, we will not get any match. So just I will take a new visit and I will emit it as 912. So logically nothing should happen. But now when I advance the watermark to 914, which means that I add a visit for 914, which advances the watermark to 912.01, 1 second. Well, here I should see the page 2 emitted without the add impression. So that's kind of tricky part when you think about watermarks, as I explained so far in this module, because here the watermark, the GC watermark, is driven by this time expression, time range, that, as you can see clearly, works on a watermark column. So in other words, it precedes, it's more important than the raw data watermark defined in the with watermark expression. So that was for the left outer join. Let me now recreate the topics for visits. And start the producer, and I will do now the same for the ads. And here I will do exactly the same example, but for the inner join. So there is the same condition, the same watermarks, and here just the output will differ for the last case when, remember, we don't have any match. So I will start this job. There should be nothing happening. Yes, and now I will produce the first visit. Still nothing in the output. Now I will send an add impression within the time range, and here you can see that it works. And later I will add another page for the visit number 1, the one that previously emitted without the matching. So here nothing is emitted because the watermark is far behind this event time. So I will add another visit. Again, nothing emitted for the same reason, for the reason that the watermark is based on this time range condition. And later I will add a new add exactly as previously, just to show you that yes, there is still nothing. And now I will add a visit for 912 that should generate nothing as previously, and now I will advance the watermark so that if we used the left outer join, the page 2 would be emitted. But since we are working with the inner join, you can see that the last micro batch is empty. As a lesson learned from this demo, you should remember that joins in stream processing are different from the batch processing because they rely on time, and that's the time that controls the state, as you saw, and also results emission that you saw also for the outer join, and which is even important to more important to remember is that the watermark itself, it may be overridden, may be superseded by the time range expression that impacts the watermark column. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson.